Dad, growing up, what was life like in your childhood with your parents? I mean, how was your relationship different between your mom and your dad? Because I know that you said one of your things is that, you lived, I don't know necessarily in fear, but like you were a good kid, and I know that you probably viewed, your mom and your dad differently. Do you remember what that was like?
You didn't have no clothes. And they asked you at school. They said, when are you going to wear your jeans?
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't have no jeans.
Well, that was later. And I mean, I used to go to church all the time, because
My dad was a minister.
Yeah,
You're going to be
exactly.
there a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So, at one point in my life, I was like, I don't want to go to church every time, all the time. I don't want to be used as the example, I'm the preacher's son, so.
You have to be the example.
Yeah.
There's a responsibility that comes
yes.
with that, which is probably hard on a child too.
Yeah, and I'm sure parents don't understand, that fully, like kids do. But growing up in a small community, growing up was good.
Yeah.
Nobody had anything. You
felt like the community relied on each other?
Yeah, well, we were all in the same boat. I mean, you were farmers and, meager, just doing the work to scrape out a living,
Yeah.
But,
The clothes.
Yeah. All I had was more like dress pants, as I got older and stuff. So I just wore dress pants and a dress shirt to school. And everybody was wearing, jeans. And they're like, why are you always wearing dress pants, And
that's just what you had.
Yeah, and I that's what I had. I never had, just jeans, and stuff. I was kind of what I had was meant for church, and that's all I had. So, that's what I used for school and everything. But I can see now and understand now things. Like raising pigs and raising calves and chickens and things. My dad, he knew about that kind of thing. So it seemed like he always had a little something for me to, what do you call it with responsibility?
Stuff for you to do.
Chores?
Yeah, but instill responsibility. Like you got to work for what you get. And
well, there's probably not more. There's probably not people on earth that know that better than farmers.
Yes. Yeah.
So a farmer is a good person to instill that into someone.
Right. I didn't know about cities. I didn't know about. I knew that once in a while we would go to to Cumberland or something that was, but I could never imagine living there, because it seemed like it was all around the grazing stuff, and farms and all like that. But by the time I got 16, I had enough money raised for a down payment on a car, And it was because of my dad, instilling in me, you raised some pigs, you sold them, you made a little money, you put it in the bank. you know, you raised some calves, you sold them, money in the bank, you know, and such as that. Pigs, you raised some pigs.
And you worked at the bank for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, I worked at a bank. There was nobody in my junior year, 11th grade. The first half of the day, in the school day, they would take a bus from where our school was to the county seat.
Mhm.
To that, they had a vocational school there, and you could go to that vocational school in the morning. I went to the high school in the morning of that county seat and took so many classes, and then come back to my own school and took the senior classes. So I was taking the junior and senior year together
At the same time.
at the same time, and I graduated at 16. But after I graduated, I realized there was nowhere to get work.
Because you were 16.
Because I was 16.
Yeah.
The local banker of where we lived, that it was all about my dad and who he knew,
Mm-hmm.
gave me a job working at a bank, and I worked for probably 2 years.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it was an hour, you know, it was an hour to work in the morning and an hour home, and the roads was always bad in wintertime and the
Yeah.
snow and things. So, you know, I worked at a bank. Banks don't pay.
All that money.
Yeah, all that money. I can always remember when the treasury trucks would bring bags of money, you know, to resupply the money in the bank, in the bank itself, and we would have to count it. I was so afraid that my bundle of money was going to be short. And
Very stressful.
And you know, they would come in bundles, you know, this tall and this wide, and it would just give you stacks of money and count this. And in all the, you know, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 50 and you know, and one time it was short. And I sweated that. You know, I mean, it was a $10 bill, but yet, you know, and I'm, you know, I didn't want to say, well, go back and look at the cameras. I never took no $10 bill, but it worried me, you know, that they would think that I took, you know.
Yeah.
But I didn't like working at the bank. I didn't like. I thought that it should have been more, pay more.
Mm-hmm.
And it
And-
shoulda.
Yeah, it should have, because I think my first car payment was $70, $71 or something. So 1 week of pay made car payment, and the rest of the money was paying gas to get to work. You know, I didn't end
Yeah.
up with anything.
Because you were far away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And, but it, again, you know, you learn in everything you do. And I met people that you know, I could see their bank accounts, and I'm thinking, why don't you wear socks? Why don't, you know, there were people that were saving every bit of the money that they could, and it was like they couldn't afford to buy socks or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they were wanting it to leave their kids, or, you know, and I seen the difference in people, you know. I seen people that come in there that because who they were, they felt like they could treat you, you know, any way they wanted, and they could talk down to you because you were never allowed, you know, to give a snippet remark back to a customer.
Yeah.
But then the people come in that actually had a little money, but they were saving it all, you know, and they were poor.
Yeah.
They lived
They
poor.
lived poor.
And I seen people come in that wanted to borrow money that had newspaper stuffed in around their shoes, and it hurt me so bad that people that really needed to borrow money, maybe because they didn't have the collateral, they couldn't borrow money.
Mm-hmm.
But and I went on to, you know, I remember going to repossess a car one time, and it was awful. It was one of the worst things I think I ever remember is taking that person's vehicle because they couldn't make the payments.
Yeah.
And I remember the dad of those children, you know, and I say children, they were older people that he had helped get, you know, he had helped them get that car, but they couldn't pay for it, and the dad was like, I got all these kids, I can't
Yeah.
cover it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember the bank manager himself hugging that guy and saying, I'm sorry, you know, I'm sorry for taking your vehicle. He said, it's okay. He said, you know, we couldn't pay for it, and he said, I can't. You know, the boy wanted it so bad, but now he can't, you know, he can't make the payments, and he said, I can't. He said, I got enough putting just food on the table, you know. He said, I don't have enough to pay for his car, you know.
You talked about the area being poor.
Yeah.
Did you feel like that was the experience kind of like your whole life? The area was poor and there was a lot of poverty?
Yeah.
Because I know you said, you know, occasionally someone with money may come in, but that was,
Yeah.
I'm assuming, the
Yes.
exception to the rule.
Well, the facility that I worked at was the bank for Westvaco.
Mm-hmm.
Westvaco, the pulp mill is international pulp and paper.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody worked there, you know, and that's where the source came from. You know, everybody worked there for that area.
Yeah.
And when it was payday, they just stood in lines, you know, to cash their checks and put this in. People wanted CDs, and people wanted, you know, put this in my lockbox, and wanted savings bonds, and on and on and on. And
I remember you worked in a shoe store at the mall.
Yeah.
And the parents would come in to buy their child
Yeah.
a pair of shoes, and you know what the kids all wanted was
Yeah.
the, you know, great athletic shoes. And the mom and dad would say no.
Yeah.
And they would buy their shoes so big that they could wear them for 2 or 3 years. And yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Steve said, "Oh, I wanted to cry."
Yeah.
He said, "I wanted to buy them a pair of shoes, but he didn't have any money either."
Do you know when that was that you were working at the shoe store at the mall? Was that after the bank? Or was
Oh,
that,
yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
after
that
after
was
the
after
bank.
the bank. Yeah.
So you said you worked from the bank from about 16 to 18?
Mm-hmm.
So this would have been sometime after you were 18?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.